What is going on, everybody? We're here and we are live on RK Outpost Live, and I'm actually back in my studio. It feels like I've been gone for a month, but I was really only gone about 2 weeks. It felt like a really fucking long time, though, as it always does out on the road at the RNC and then doing some family stuff back in Indiana. Finally back home. Just in time for some massive announcements at San Diego ComicCon, which we're going to talk a little bit about the big Marvel things that were announced. Obviously, Deadpool Wolverine is bending over and butt raping the box office, so we got to talk about that. And of course, we're still coming off the biggest failure we've seen in the history of Star Wars, so we got to talk about that too. As always, with these streams that we do over here once a month, the last Sunday of every month, features not only myself, who you get to hear babble all the fucking time, but also a couple of my biggest supporters, whether it's on Patreon or channel members or even over on Locals. So you guys get to hear from them and their viewpoints instead of just listening to me prattle on and on and on about this same old shit. So without any further ado, it's good seeing everybody here in the chat. Let's bring on everybody. Starting with Gabriel Knight. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot. It's been such a slow news month. I just don't know what we're going to talk about, though. But
yeah, what is there to talk about after the big flip up we got yesterday? Yes, exactly. Good to have you back, Gabriel.
Good to be here.
And we've got Star Wars Marvel purist who probably has a lot to say about the Star Wars and Marvel news.
I've got tons to say, so if I ramble too much, just tell me to shut up or mute my mic, whatever you need to do.
Okay. I will hold you to it. That might end up happening. We'll see.
All right.
Grandmaster Chris, what's up, man?
My mother twitted my fucking tipple.
Because I don't know about you guys, but everyone twitted their tipples when they were younger. But yeah,
there's probably going to be some people that have no idea what you're talking about. But yes, the very soft boogie clip that just played. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought going into this stream, I thought we were just going to be talking about Acolyte, the worst show ever made. But then all sorts of things happened. We got some political shootings. We've got Kamala Harris becoming the new Democrat candidate, and Marvel scraping the bottom of the barrel saying, hey, Robert Downey Jr., can you please save us? Because we've got nothing going on.
Yeah, we're probably going to focus more on the entertainment stuff than the political stuff on this stream. But yeah, there's been a lot going on the past couple weeks for sure. We've also got Sleazy, who listened to Medicare and bought a hat. What's up, man?
And I bought a hat for my hat.
He's even got a hat for his hat, just like the ad says. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm still trying to get over the fact that Iron Man died only to become Dr. Doom.
It's true. It's true. And I have a decent amount to say about it too, because this is a rumor that came out like very publicly about a week ago. That started circulating. There were rumors that Downey was going to play Dr. Doom. I've known it for a little over a month, I would say. Had a couple people pass me word. I'm not a fucking scooper. I'm not a rumor mill channel, right? I'll report on things that are already out there, but I'm not going to ever be somebody to break news or any of that bullshit, because you start getting into that game, you start making up shit for clicks. Never going to be me. So I've had a little longer to process it probably than most people have, but interesting things, the way Marvel's going, the direction they're headed. To me, it looks like they desperately want to course correct, but I don't know if this is going to be the thing that does it or the best way to do it. But we'll talk about it a little bit. We've got Sir Reefer. What's up, man?
You know, I just want to say I'm never in a room alone with anyone other than my wife.
Are you Mike Pence?
No, I'm Ninja.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Fucking. Hey, listen, not a bad plan.
No,
if you're in this industry, okay?
And if I DM a woman, I tell my wife she's got my balls in her purse.
There you go. Speaking of balls, one of the men with the biggest balls on YouTube, Biggles Mets. He's got to have a lot of balls to put my logo up behind him all the time. What's
Correct.
up, Biggles?
Hi. I'm in pain. It hurts.
Biggles is on painkillers. He's not feeling great, so he'll probably be quiet, but he's still in there modding.
Hi.
On them opiates, boy.
And we've also got the man, the myth, the legend returning. John Goetz, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Well, the biggest Star Wars news this month is that the Episode 2 game came out on PSN Classics. So
Really?
we can all go back and play the 20-year-old PS2 game. Yes.
Like good old.
I can
good
boot
old
my
days.
PlayStation 2 in the living room and go play it.
The best adaptation for me of those was definitely Episode 3. I think the Revenge of the Sith video game is fucking badass. I
Hell
love
yeah.
it.
You got the alternate ending where Anakin kills Obi-Wan.
Oh,
He
yeah.
says, the galaxy belongs to me.
Well, he kills him and then he kills the Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like he like flings his lightsaber in the air and then grabs it and stabs him because everything's gotta be super flashy. And the clone troopers are just like, oh,
Palpatine presents him a red lightsaber and he grabs it. He like throws it up in the air randomly and like twists around and grabs it and stabs him in the stomach. And all the stormtroopers are like,
oh, okay.
or yeah, the
Guess you're
clones
you.
are like, oh shit. Well, I guess
You're on
that
your
just
boss
happened.
now.
This is how it works. Whenever you kill the leader, you become the leader.
Pretty much.
Keep what you kill.
I like your story, Ryan. How you spoiled the movie, or you thought you were spoiling the movie for your buddy, only to find out that what happens in the game doesn't happen in the actual movie.
Yeah, there's obviously you have a full-blown fight scene between Anakin and Mace Windu in the game. And so I was fully expecting, I was going in to the movie and I was telling my friends, bro, Anakin and Mace Windu are going to have this crazy fucking fight. It's going to be amazing. And then he just shows up, chops off his arm, and it's done. And it's like, fuck. Well, that wasn't exactly as compelling as I thought it'd be. So I kind of ruined that moment for myself. But
So
that
that's
was,
why you don't do rumors.
well, one of the reasons. But
Yeah.
that was before the days of like, that was before the days of spoilers being such a big deal. This is when novelizations of movies and video games based off movies would come out before the movie was actually released. Which is just kind of crazy to think about now with how sensitive we all are to that kind of shit. But
Yeah,
that was
like-
just
I mean,
what
this
it was
was
back then.
this was in the days when you heard about Marilyn Manson in middle school,
Well, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
right? Like these were the rumors that got spread before the internet was in everybody's pocket.
Well, like DBZ, whenever that was coming out in the States, it was like after it had already finished over in Japan. So if that was coming out like modern day, everybody would just know all the spoilers and wouldn't be tuning in at all. So it's kind of crazy that like it came out, all the spoilers were there, I guess, if you went onto the right forums and stuff. But as a kid, it was just like, whoa, this new show is coming out.
Yeah.
You're held in suspense week to week, even though it's an old show in reality.
Hmm.
Well, that's how Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh and all those early Toonami animes were. Like they were out in Japan and had been out, and the licensing got moved over to the US for a dub.
Mhm.
And so that's what we saw. Because like, I don't know if y'all know, but Yu-Gi-Oh season 0 is the shit.
And you can't watch it in English.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
too dark.
except for the abridged version.
Oh, the abridged version's incredible too. Don't
Little
even get me
Karibo.
started on those. Oh my god.
It's a
Like-
children's card game.
You don't stand a ghost of a chance.
I'm
can't
American.
I didn't even watch all that shit back in the day when a lot of my friends were watching it. I just never got the only anime I got into when I was in school was Pokemon. That was it.
Got into
The
that.
most basic bitch anime.
It's also the most genius because they basically made you watch a 30-minute advertisement for their game. So like, look, it's
Yep.
this new Pokemon from this new region. Aren't they cooler than the previous ones?
The only anime for me was Voltron back in the day when I was like
Voltron
fucking
was
5 years
sick.
old or something, you know?
Talk about recycled animation. They made that transformation take up like a third of the episode every time.
Yep.
Every time.
It was
The
still
show-
awesome though.
The show I used to watch as a kid with my dad was the Transformers cartoon. And that was basically a giant advertisement for the toys.
Dude, there was an awesome theater event for that. I don't know if you went to it, if you were a big fan, but it was for like the 40th anniversary of the first episode of Transformers. They had the first 4 episodes air in theaters of the original cartoon. And then for the first episode, they had like the voice actors, all the ones that were still living, or they replaced other ones. do like a live table read, and it was playing like next to the episode on the screen. So it had like Peter Cullen and them, and I forget the Megatron guy, but he's been around since the beginning as well. And it was like showing all their bloopers and stuff. It was like a pretty cool little theater event that they had.
People still love seeing those guys when they go to cons and stuff. Like, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Jackson Cagle for $2. Yep. Revenge of the Sith game was sweet. Hail Ryan in chat. Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, that came from a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What in the fuck?
Savvy's Greek feet for $2.
What the? Oh,
I don't know if that's a real picture of her feet or not, but thank you. And then No One K, Noon K for £2. Thank you.
What is that profile picture?
So someone get Gundam. He'll be interested. Holy shit.
In the feet?
Yeah.
Or in the penis-shaped spaceship that it looked like.
Oh.
My God, it's a giant Johnson.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know whose feet those are. If she posted a picture like that, she's fucking crazy for doing that.
Brie Larson's.
That's
Larson,
almost as bad as Brie Larson's feet.
Maybe they are.
I think people that are obsessed with feet are fucking weirdos.
Yeah,
I make the jokes.
Like the last thing that I look at on a woman is their feet.
yeah. So you're not like Laura Strong, where you start masturbating to Alison Hightower's feet.
I am not. No.
That's
Although I was born with
good.
club feet. I was born with club feet.
Look, I masturbate to Alison Hightower, but not her feet. All right,
That's
I have
right.
principles.
fair enough. That's fair enough.
I masturbate to her crazy eyes.
She always looks like so worried or annoyed all the time.
Well, with Aegon as a kid and the king, wouldn't you be?
Yeah. Like, Aemond, what are you doing this time?
Her oldest kid might kill her at any moment if she says the wrong thing.
Yeah,
You
she
know
got
the
it.
show's gone off the rails when the dude named Sleazy is cringing.
Shut up,
Yeah, like when
Susie.
you have Aegon, who is completely unfit to be king, Aemond, who is a fucking psychopath, Helena is like an autistic person who you can't take in public because she has panic attacks and meltdowns, and her only child that was raised without her is doing great. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that
shows you-
Aemon also
how
has a giant nuke that he controls.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
That he controls in air quotations.
Or does it control him? Who knows? Mike Hill for 5. DC's fucked up. Fucked up in the head. First gender swap Mr. Freeze and now Penguin. Well, one of them is in a video game and one of them is in the J.J. Abrams fucking Cape Crusader that got like canceled, I think, from Max and like bought somewhere else. But yeah, that was weird. I'm not interested in that show at all, which
Nope.
is
Well, to be fair, no one is.
I didn't even realize it was a thing.
I'm pretty
Penguinetta.
sure Bruce Timm is part of it.
Yeah, it was initially hype a couple years ago. Whenever they first announced it, they're like, Bruce Timm is coming back to do a Batman animated series.
I think they're using his name, kind of like
Is
they
that
used the
what that
Lawal
is?
for the X-Men animated. Like they consulted with them, but they weren't actually on the writing team. Now that actually turned out all right, but I think they're using Bruce Timm's name, like a name only. I don't think he's like super involved in it.
I don't know. I feel like that's always our first reaction when somebody we like or respect from something else is involved in a project that looks like it's going to be dog shit. But maybe that is the case. When I first heard about it, it was like Bruce Timm, Cape Crusader. I'm like, holy shit, J.J. Abrams. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Oh,
That can't be good. But yeah, there was a first look at Penguin, who is
I haven't
a woman
seen
now.
this.
a woman.
Oh, good.
Is she a short, fat woman?
Oh,
Apparently,
that
she's
would
taller
be-
than Batman from the angle of the picture.
Was she
I don't know
there
if
at
it's
the
just
opening
the angle or not,
ceremonies at
but
the
this
Olympics?
is her.
Maybe she should be the flamingo or something. I don't know. I forgot the name of the ostrich. That's what I was going to say. Maybe she should be the ostrich.
Any driver? God.
I like how Batman doesn't even look excited. Like he could get blasted in the face by that umbrella any second. And
Like, really? I gotta fight this thing?
He's
I
trying
gotta
to figure
fight
out
it.
what the fuck's going on too.
He's
Why is the
stoic.
Penguin hunched over Batman? Like, why is Batman shorter?
Oh, yeah.
And we've also got, just joining the stream, we've got Tim Crusader from Open Airlock Policy. What's up, Tim?
What is up, guys? How's it going?
Or United Spacers Alliance. United Spacers
Yes,
Alliance.
USA
I'm sorry
Crusader.
I dead named
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Get it right.
Yeah, exactly. No, I still put it like in the tags and stuff because you never know, if the shills out in the Reddit sphere and stuff have my links and they're like, I got to look more up about this idiot, and then they find my channel. So I still put it in the tags of my videos and live streams. So, and we still have that
Carrie
policy.
Fisher poster.
What's that?
I said I love that Carrie Fisher poster.
Yeah, it came from Star Wars Galaxy magazine. The flip side is like a small replica of the first Star Wars movie poster. It said, come into your galaxy this summer. And I'm like, well, which side do I want to use?
Yeah,
but I'm going to go ahead and buy a backup copy of it too. So
You're gonna get
I wonder which side you're gonna use.
You gonna get a Khmer one?
Queer mirror, you mean? Isn't that?
Yeah.
I thought that's the way you pronounce it. That's the way I've been pronouncing it on my streams. I don't know if that's right. Justin might have corrected me once or twice, but that's the way it looks to me. So, yeah.
Well, he's known as Shang Tsung to me because he looks like D.H. Shang Tsung. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher did a lot of cocaine to get that body ready for Return of the Jedi.
Big
So I
time,
feel like
big
we should
time.
all appreciate
Absolutely.
her sacrifices.
At least it wasn't meth. It was coke. It gives you energy, and I don't know about that personally, but I've heard. So yeah.
Speaking of cocaine, there was a shark that was Brazilian that was on cocaine, tested positive for cocaine. I have
Holy
the picture.
shit.
I said,
Sci-fi channel movie coming up. Cocaine shark.
I said Dan should stop giving cocaine to the sharks, and that was all I had.
Well, Biggles, you're a Mets fan too, right? So speaking of cocaine, we had the Doc Gooden, Daryl Strawberry days.
Oh
Those
shit!
days.
Yes, that was still technically a little before my time, and like when I was like very little when they were on the team. So, but
Yeah,
I do know of it.
I was watching them, man. They were doing lines the length of the baselines back then.
That was a great era of
It's
baseball.
actually
Great
what they
era.
were chalking the field with.
Yeah, it was cocaine. I believe it.
No wonder he was sliding into second so
time he
much.
slid, yeah.
You're supposed to go foot first into second.
If a shark tests positive for cocaine, does that just mean they like ate a trafficker or some shit?
Maybe.
Probably.
Or if here's a science question, like because sharks go through the waters, fucking gills, oxygen, all that shit. If someone dumps cocaine in the fucking ocean and they like happen to swim through it, like before it dissipates and dissolves, would that be enough to like get a shark high on cocaine?
I don't know.
That's like
But-
some
Let's
superhero
try it.
shit.
Let's try.
Some
it.
lib's gonna go get a grant now and study that shit and make a bunch of money off of it.
How many super chats to Geeks and Gamers to set up this experiment?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But no, I was walking by the TV. Fox News was on, and it said Brazilian shark on cocaine. So I posted the link in the private chat if you want to show.
Does
what
the
it
shark
looks
have a
like.
nationality? I feel like it just swims around. I don't know if it's a Brazilian shark.
Well, it was a hammerhead shark.
So,
Headline.
sharp
Oh,
nose, not
our
hammer.
bubbles usually scare hammers off. Look at that.
American
It
be a
shark.
Colombian
It was
shark.
not a hammerhead. It was a sharp nose.
Oh, I don't know the difference.
So they're not talking about the people that sit up there and judge your inventions and stuff. Those sharks, because they may
Brazilian
be on
Mark
cocaine,
Cuban.
No, not those ones.
Okay.
Shark Tank, yeah.
So, yeah.
I can't
Could
believe I
be.
saw that. Because usually, whenever on the rare occasion that I turn on the news, all it is just Trump said this and Kamala said this.
Well, I didn't even turn on the news. It was on the TV as I was walking by, and I was like, "Shark on cocaine."
Well, when I say turn the news, it's more so like they're on the TVs that they have at the gym.
Oh, okay.
It's all nothing but CNN, and right next to it is Fox News.
You don't just
Yeah.
unplug
Like
the TVs.
Yeah, just unplug them. Or just turn them all to the cooking channel.
News and sports gets all their ratings from gym monitors, and then The View gets all of their ratings from like dentists' offices and shit, where they're just left on all the time.
Because no one bothers to turn it on in their own home.
It's always either that or some home renovation channel. Whenever I go to any sort of like doctor's or dentist's office, it's The View or that.
Yeah, like flip this house and all that bullshit. Yeah.
Isn't it true that most people who use YouTube are watching it on their home TVs now.
It's like over 50% or something, or very close to 50%, which is shocking to me because I never watch YouTube on my TV ever.
Nope.
It's
Me neither.
always
I do
on
all
my
the time.
phone or at my computer when I'm here.
Yeah, I'm driving and listen to it actually because it's normally like
I do
podcasts,
too.
like stuff like FNT or Open Bar or something where it's
They
like
usually give you the analytics too, right? On your either the weekly or the monthly. I think the monthly recaps, right? They'll give you analytics to how many people watched your stuff on TV. I'm like, whoa.
You can look in the analytics and do a deep dive to find it, but it is wild that number of people are watching YouTube on like smart TVs.
Or Roku's.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Yeah, same shit.
I put Tim on Friday nights, but I usually fall asleep before it goes live. So
at least it's playing. At least it's playing.
It's playing while I'm sleeping, but I'm usually in bed by the time Tim goes live on Friday.
Biggles is always waiting for expanded booty burst, you know.
Exactly.
Star Wars Marvel.
Got it on
Pierce,
the
you're
wall.
a late night one. What was that last night? You have your freaking show or podcast really late.
Well, I did like Friday. I try to do before Tim's, but I usually do Wednesdays. But I switched to Friday because obviously I watched Deadpool and Wolverine. But yeah, I was on Words of Paradise. Like he did a late one because he's on the West Coast, and we were just talking about the Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of talking about some of the like with the multiverse shit and the plot. And yeah, we ended up staying up to like 6 a.m. or something. There's a pretty good amount of us on there. So yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. West Coast is nice, like for. God, I wish that we had like on the East Coast the sports at the time that they get them on the West Coast.
That was like the one thing that I did like about living West Coast. It's like, hey, NCAA championship game starting at 6:15 p.m. It's like fucking after 9 o'clock with all the commercial, all the shit. You're not going to go to bed till fucking 1. It's on a Monday, like all that bullshit. I did really like the idea of the first NFL game of the day being on at 10 in the morning. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and
it was incredible.
It was really nice. That one time I actually got to go to WrestleMania when they went to Inglewood, California. It was so nice to be able to be out of the building and past the traffic at 9 o'clock as opposed to midnight. Because I can't imagine like all the people who go to shows like that on the East Coast and they're stuck in traffic at 1 a.m. That sounds.
I remember football in church in California. It's like you had to have a VCR or you're going to miss all the games because you don't get home like until 1 o'clock and they're pretty much over at that point. And it's like no spoilers, like if you've heard anything, because there were no phones back then in the 80s, 90s and shit. So it's like everyone be quiet. I don't want the game spoiled. So
Dude, I had 7 a.m. masks so I could be at home for the games.
Hey Ryan, can you read that super chat?
Not being spoiled for the outcome of like a sports game, and now as soon as like a fucking touchdown is scored, it puts it on my phone to let me know like the Bears.
Could you read that super chat that was up earlier? Because I think it's wrong.
Which one?
The one about the feet.
Simps love feet as they're always looking down.
I don't know. I'm always looking up at the feet. You know, like
it's like that line from Rings of Power. Why does a ship float and a stone cannot? Because the ship looks up or something.
Is it a duck? Is it a witch?
Mud for $5. Only 2 good options for Dr. Doom. Option 1, Leslie Headland is Dr. Doom.
Leslie Jones.
So YouTubers can make tons of Leslie Jones. Instead of yeah.
Freudian slip.
That's Dr. Doom. So YouTubers are gonna make tons of money, or Jason Statham because he's Jason Statham.
Jason Statham. He has to make this face because every time he talks, it sounds annoying.
Yeah. So obviously the big announcement we got from Hall H, Marvel, San Diego Comic-Con, after getting through things that legitimately no one cares about, like Black Captain America and Thunderbolts, they finally came out and made a big announcement, which I actually think that the Russo brothers and the renaming of the movie is a bigger deal than Robert Downey Jr. himself coming back. But announcing the Russo brothers are doing the next 2 Avengers movies after being away from Marvel for about 5 years. I think that Endgame is a mess, but I think their other 3 entries are obviously really solid in the MCU. But they've been talking shit about Marvel. They've pushed back and criticized a lot of the things they decided to do, especially a lot of what they ended up doing in Loki. and kind of tearing down some of the things that were built before. So there was bad blood between Marvel and the Russo brothers. They bring them back. They completely rename Kang Dynasty to Doomsday, and they confirm that Doctor Doom is going to be the big bad, at least from what we can tell, moving forward for these next couple iterations. And they confirm that Robert Downey Jr. is going to play Victor Von Doom. He's going to play Doctor Doom. Now there's a comic run where he does actually become Doctor Doom becomes Iron Man. So maybe that's what they're going to play off. I'm not sure. I'm sure people like Star Wars Marvel purists can talk more about that than I can. But it has two feelings to me. One is very fucking desperate. Hey, let's bring back these guys that made shit these love. Hey, let's bring back our most iconic actor in a role that wasn't his iconic role, right? He's not playing Iron Man, he's playing Doctor Doom, who may be a variation. We'll figure that out. But also, I do think it's an admission for them that, like, we really fucked up and we need to right the ship. I don't know if this is the right way. I've seen mostly praise for it. I've also seen a decent amount of criticism for it feeling like they're just bringing an old character back for cheap views or cheap pops when people wish they would have just gone a different direction. What do you guys think about all this crazy shit?
So the second movie, Secret Wars, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the other dimension, and Spider-Man should be leading the crew. And if Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom, and he's going to be on the other side of the Secret Wars, unless for some reason they fucking ruin it in Doomsday, Spider-Man, this Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, is going to be like, but you're Tony, and like fucking have like crying the whole time, probably.
Oh my gosh, Tony.
So, but it will probably ruin Secret Wars. So I just feel like it's going to suck, and I don't want to watch it.
I don't know why Robert Downey Jr. did it. I mean, he's shown that he has a career after the MCU. Just did Oppenheimer, won an Academy Award. So what's in it for him other than the money?
Well, they're going to tie in Dr. Doolittle, who he also played, into Dr. Doom and make Dr. Doolittle.
Dr. Doolittle. Holy fuck. That'd be good.
I forgot he was Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody did, because like 6 people saw that movie.
It's one of the
we don't know
like,
what kind of makeup they're going to have. We don't know if it'll really look like Tony. You know, we don't know what they're going to do. It could be a multiverse thing, like, who knows. But I think what this confirms, and I think you'll agree, Ryan, that all this time, Doomcock was wrong about the Civil War at Disney Lucasfilm. It was really at Marvel. So we see that Civil War playing out now with the retconning, right? It wasn't the Disney trilogy being retconned. It's going to be this garbage MCU over the past 7 years. So there you go.
The sources just got their wires crossed, apparently.
Yes.
That must be what happened.
But nothing's been wrong. It's only been COVID and the strike. You know, Phase 4 was really great, right? I mean, all new, all different, did great in the comics. You know, they sold all kinds of fucking issues. Well, I think what they're doing with Doom, though, I think it is going to be Tony Stark, because they're going to be using the what if story. It's Iron Man, Demon in an Armor. And that's basically, it's like think of Flatliners meets Face Off, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a what if story, right? So you got the Watcher and all that. And then you have Victor Von Doom's roommate in college is Tony Stark instead of Reed Richards. And he makes a machine in a basement, kind of like Flatliners, right? The original, when they go off and they, do whatever. And he tricks Stark into helping him. And Tony Stark even recognizes, like, oh, this thing in the machine. And he's like, oh, don't even mind that. That has to do with this, and that. He basically then he tells him that he'll have the ability to to be telepathic or something, whoever tries it, right? So then, of course, Tony Stark volunteers, and they basically swap consciousness, and that's like probably what they're going to do, I would think, or like an amalgamation, because they're not going to do Infamous Iron Man, which like a lot of people talk about that, because that's just straight up Dr. Doom taking the mantle of Iron Man, and I don't think they're going to do that, although that kind of connects with like the Hood, because they're using the Hood as the villain in that garbage Ironheart movie. Or show, and then they've kind of changed that around too, because that's the jangling key on that's going to be Mephisto, because everybody was talking about Mephisto during WandaVision. So instead of the Hood getting his powers and stuff from Dormammu, it's going to be from Mephisto instead.
Well, I think that the idea that they're going to take any comic run and adapt it one for one, that's never going to happen. That's never happened in the history of the MCU. So like it's probably going to be an amalgamation of a bunch of different things put together. It's typically what they end up doing. I wonder how much money they threw at Robert Downey Jr. to do it. I wonder if they had thrown the same amount of money at him to return as Iron Man, if he would have done that. You know, he said before he was open to it as long as the story was right, but you could say that a lot, and then they throw $30 million at you and things could change pretty easily.
The thing that's nice for an actor about both of those roles, Iron Man and Doctor Doom, is like you're in a mask for all the action, presumably. And like you don't, as far as like him getting older and everything, you don't really have to do a whole lot physically.
Yeah.
He did a little bit in Iron Man 3 where he was running around and stuff, but mostly it's the zoomed in, screen face as Iron Man, and Doctor Doom has a metal mask. So it's like you can convince him to come back pretty easily because the workload is probably pretty light. It's probably like half voice acting and half actual acting.
Yeah, you say that, but look what we just had of the Halo series.
Yeah. Well,
true.
Hopefully no one picks that up.
Well, sleazy.
Everybody should take example of that.
It's kind of ironic though that Deadpool jokes with Wolverine that they're gonna keep you around till you're 90, because that's basically in essence what they're trying to do with Robert Downey Jr. now, right?
Yeah, he's like 60 or so, right?
He's around 60. Yeah, he's around 60 years old. But the fact that they are erasing Kang like completely, and I don't know if they would have done this had Jonathan Majors not gone through all the shit, or what. Because I think the reception to his character was so fucking bad that I think they may have made a move like this anyway, even if they didn't have to go through all the Jonathan Majors recast him. Now it probably saved them a lot of PR trouble to have to explain away why this black man you just got to lead your universe is no longer like going to be the lead villain. I think it's a good move that they're moving away from Kang. I think I obviously love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, as do the vast majority of people probably who liked the MCU, at least in its heyday. I don't know how I feel about him playing Doctor Doom, and I don't know how I feel about how they're going to make that out to be. You know, there's some people that are like, oh, wow, now you're going to have your new cast of diverse Avengers fighting the white male who used to be the hero and tearing him down. I don't know. I feel that they are legitimately trying to turn the MCU around from where it was. I think they know how fucking bad it is. I just don't have any necessarily faith that they're going to do it in a way that feels rewarding to people.
Well,
Yeah,
I
so
agree. I agree with
kind
you,
of
Ryan.
disagree. To me, it feels like somebody sat down with an Excel sheet and pulled the stats on everything. It was like, all right, who was their best director? Who was their best producer? Who was their best actor? All right, mash them all up and figure out a movie to put them into. I don't think it's going. I don't think it's. I agree with you. I think it's going to be awful. I don't think. Trying to figure out how to word this. I don't think they actually care about any of the story. I still think it's just a cheap money grab that just trying to throw out there like, look, we've got all your favorite people in one place.
You are
I think
right
ultimately
about-
they want to get people excited about the MCU again,
Yes.
right? And the reason they made this announcement now instead of holding off because so basically what I heard a month ago was that they're going to tease Doom throughout in the Fantastic Four movie. A little bit here, a little bit there. He's not the main villain or anything, but he's going to be like present somehow. And that it will be revealed that it's, oh, this is actually Robert Downey Jr. So it's been in the works for a little while. I don't think it's been in the works for a long, long time. I think it's been in the works for a little while. And I think that they truly feel they've fucked up and they need to get fans back on board and back excited about the future.
I think a lot of it's surface level though. Like, so you hear the Russos and you get excited, right? But the Russos, all their movies they directed were written by Marcus and McFeely, right? And they even like have a bad, like I personally like Thor: The Dark World. Malekith sucks as a villain, but the Warriors 3, Lady Sif, like those are the Thor comics that I read. So it felt more Thor to me than like Ragnarok, where it's like goofball and all that. But They
Well,
they
Stephen
wrote like all the
McFeely-
good Captain America movies and Infinity
Stephen
War.
McFeely is coming back to write as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So they got one of
Hmm.
them back. I don't know them to ever have done a project like not together though. So I haven't actually looked yet. I haven't had time to see what like individual writing endeavors, because it seems like they always kind of spitball off each other, you know. So it is kind of reassuring that they have one of them, but you would want like the whole team back,
Yeah.
right, to do that. So
As
but
Last
that
of
is
Us 2
important,
showed.
because
Yeah, you
the
can have
writing's
one
what
out of
comes
2.
down to.
Well, here's the thing with comic movies. It's not really like Star Wars or even Star Trek, where you're adapting something that has a definitive lore and canon, right? Because there have been different versions of DC Marvel characters for decades. So someone like Justin or me, you see all these boxes, like 2 of them are full of Marvel, different stuff, except Spider-Man, because I can't stand Spider-Man. Sorry, Biggles. But different versions of characters, different universes, many of them good, almost all of them good, just different versions of them, and comic fans accept that, right? Star Wars, it doesn't work, because it's never been a multiverse. Like, it's Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and the crew, and that's kind of their character, their lore, their storyline. But with comics, you can bring it to the screen, and then you've got normies that won't know any better. They're aware of Iron Man. They were before 2008, but not really. You might have seen them on the cartoons. But then someone like, Justin, that's an actual really intense comic fan, will accept it too, because he knows there are different versions of comic characters. So I think as long as the characters themselves are faithfully adapted, in the sense that the core of their character is there, then I think it'll be okay. So if they do something with this Doctor Doom thing that makes sense, then I think it'll wind up okay. But it remains to be seen if they're actually going to do that. But when you flip characters and you change their motivations and all that stuff, even if it's comics that has multiverses, that's unacceptable. And that's what people won't accept in the general public.
And I'm really curious, like, how much time, like, he'll actually be in the helmet, because part of me wonders, like, if they bring in Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, how many people are going to get confused and just go, "Wait, isn't that just Iron Man?" So,
yeah, we'll see.
Well,
what
he
he
won't
looks
have a
like.
goatee.
I think that I don't think that many people are going to be confused, like, because of how long this whole multiverse thing has been going on, and how we've had multiple movies now, like Spider-Man No Way Home, $2 billion. Deadpool Wolverine just had a massive fucking opening weekend. $436 million worldwide for an R-rated movie, which is unheard of. Like, blew by every other fucking R-rated record. And is one of the biggest openings that a Marvel movie's ever had, period, despite its R rating. I don't think that too many people, I don't think they're worried about people being confused in this established multiverse universe now. I just really don't.
hey,
I think-
Ryan, now that you mentioned it, do you think Deadpool will pass Joker as the highest rated R-rated movie?
Yeah, 100%. I thought that before it had this big opening weekend. Now, is it going to make, is it going to be able to keep pace with how, like, Spider-Man No Way Home continued to hold relatively well? I don't think that.
No, I don't
But this
think
is
so.
certainly over $1 billion movie in my book. The opening is similar. One thing to keep in mind, the opening is similar to Multiverse of Madness's opening, around $450 million worldwide.
Which had a horrible drop-off.
Yeah, but that had a massive drop-off because that movie was fucking awful. And you're not seeing that same type of feedback for Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah, it could suffer some of that drop off though, because just like that movie, it's a lot of the cameos and surprises where a lot of people go opening weekend, because I feel like they sort of knew that there would be a lot of those, like, cats out of the bag. You can't avoid the spoilers. And Multiverse of Madness had a little bit of that too, where it was like the whole multiverse thing, and they were teasing like Mr. Fantastic and all that sort of stuff. And then it was like, now it's done, and we're done past the opening weekend, basically.
Yeah, it's a classic example of studios learning the wrong lessons from their successes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have brought this up, but one of the big reasons why Spider-Man had such a nice hold is because, it had a big sort of draw with bringing back Toby and bringing back Andrew and bringing back all the old villains. But I think what kept people coming back to it is because the execution of those cameos was so good and played into the story, whereas it absolutely was not the case with Multiverse of Madness. And I don't really feel like that's the case either with Deadpool. So while Deadpool will probably not have as bad of a drop off as Multiverse of Madness, because people seem to be enjoying it, I don't think it's going to have as great of a hold as Spider-Man.
So
there's going to be somewhere in
Deadpool's
between.
technically doing a little bit worse than the previous two.
Say that again.
The Deadpool 3, the Deadpool Wolverine, is technically doing slightly less than the first two Deadpools.
How do you mean? You're talking about when it, like adjusted for inflation and stuff?
Well, not adjusted for inflation, like just looking at the hard numbers. Like it's doing, for the Friday, it did less than it did on Deadpool 1 and 2 on the Fridays. The Saturdays...
No.
No.
You're
Yeah,
on a
the-
wrong page or something, because it's
Blowing
fucking
them out.
blowing it out of the water.
The first Deadpool made under. Wait, did either one of them even make $1 billion? So
They made about 800 or
400
900 million, I think.
Yeah, the
Deadpool
first one
1's
made around 700, and Deadpool 2 made
was a little
just
higher.
barely more than that.
Yeah.
The problem
Yeah,
was
so the
that-
opening could not have been that huge.
It is already made over half of
Yeah.
what the first two Deadpool movies made worldwide. Like it's huge. I'm
Yeah,
pulling up the numbers now.
Because you usually figure
people
on
wanted
like
to
2.5
see like a
or so.
regular high testosterone movie. That's why.
Here we go. So this is, so here's Deadpool, 130 million opening weekend, 125 million opening weekend for Deadpool 2. Deadpool Wolverine's 205 million opening
That's
weekend.
Domestic, or I see worldwide and then domestic.
Yeah, that's domestic, and then the numbers scale pretty similarly for the international ones. I'd have to go somewhere else to get the breakdown for it, but yeah, because this is blowing away any R-rated movie before, which I think it broke maybe Deadpool 2's record for biggest worldwide R-rated opening.
Yeah, I think Deadpool 2 had a bigger opening, but slightly worse legs than the first one because it came out in like May instead of February, whereas like February gave a little bit of more legs.
Yeah, you can certainly look at, you can certainly look at, well, how are ticket prices affecting this? I mean, I believe that with current ticket prices and everything, Deadpool 2, if the same amount of people went to it, it would have been $1 billion movie because of how inflated ticket prices are right now. And you could certainly like talk about that, but this movie is destroying those other two at the box office.
What's crazy is that the budget doubled and they basically got the same return between 1 and 2.
Yeah, the first one was a fairly low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The first one still has the best story too. I haven't heard any person tell me that they think Deadpool 3 is better than Deadpool 1.
Deadpool 1 is
sure.
definitely a tighter story. To me, Deadpool 3 is basically like Deadpool 2. Like that's how it felt to me.
That's the way I feel.
I wasn't as invested in that story, but I still had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, the fun factor.
I think that one of the things that probably will help the movie a little bit is the cameos. Well, there's a lot of like 1 second cameos about little dumb shit, but there are also cameos that are significant. And I don't really want to get into spoilers or anything because it still is opening weekend. I'm sure people in the chat haven't seen it yet, but there's a significant portion where a lot of like the cameos are characters that are around for a little while and actually play a role in helping Deadpool and Wolverine to do things a little bit later on in the movie. As opposed to just a Flash, like the sequence of cameos we saw in the Flash.
I was just about to bring that up, Ryan. It's funny because the Flash kind of had a very similar marketing campaign to Deadpool of like, come here and see all the cameos, and it completely failed.
Well, whenever people were bringing up, are we allowed to spoil the Acolyte though? Because
Acolyte,
What's this shit about? What's the Acolyte?
when
Nobody
people were
cares.
bringing up the 2 cameos in the final episode of that with Plagueis and Yoda, I was like, if you compliment this, then you insulted the Flash cameos, then you are just a raging hypocrite because it's the same exact thing where it's jangling keys with no influence on the plot whatsoever. And people were like getting mad at me for saying that because they'd be like, they had Plagueis 10 out of 10. I'd be like, you're just cheering the Christopher Reeve cameo, basically.
Yeah, those people are the kinds of people that if the Acolyte was just 4 hours of a blank screen, nothing happening, and then at the very end, 5 seconds of Plagueis, they go, "Peak Star Wars, it's so
Or
amazing!"
Even just something
Yeah.
stupid like a 3-bladed lightsaber would appear. They'd be like, "Oh, this is new peak Star Wars. Oh my gosh."
Remember when Darth Maul had a lightsaber with 2 blades? This time we're gonna do 3.
Dude, that
so
Plagueis thing
awkward to
annoyed me
handle. They're like,
so much.
Hey
Like,
Ryan,
they
could you add
just
another movie to
undid.
that mix on that? What was it? Box Office Mojo. Let's add Deadpool number 0, aka X-Men Origins Wolverine, and see how it compares to that. You know, I didn't hate that movie. A lot of people did, and I'm not saying it was great or on par with the better Marvel movies or X-Men movies, which there weren't very many of. But I didn't completely hate it. What did you think, Justin?
It had good elements in it for sure, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of trash, and it was also the revisionist origin of Wolverine. Like they should have really just
Big
dove
time,
into
yep.
it. They should have done like a rated R body horror.
Didn't they
weapon-
cancel a bunch of
weapon
others too after that? Like there were supposed to be several, right?
Well, so X-Men First Class was originally supposed to be Magneto Origins, and then they turned it
Yep,
into X-Men
yep.
First Class. And I'd argue that's like one of their best movies.
I like
but
First
it's
Class a
very
lot.
it's
Me
very uncomic accurate because you got freaking Havoc leading the team instead of Cyclops. So you have like a lot of changes. But like it is very upbeat. It's probably one of Matthew Vaughn's best movies. The score is great on it. Like there's lots of good, elements
Yeah.
from that. Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw was cool too. So
Hey,
Oh,
was
yeah.
was that Dragonfly chick in like the original X-Men comics or something from First Class? The one that just had the stupid
Angel,
wings?
no, she wasn't.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have added her because that was the dumbest part of that movie.
Mhm.
I felt like she's
So
the
that-
I
lamest
wanted to see her
powers
take her
ever.
top off.
That kind of
Yeah.
leads into the whole X-Men phenomenon too. So like I've heard a lot of, people and reports that people are getting excited because they rebooted the X-Men and now Kevin Feige is going to integrate the comics like directly into this new X-Men run into the movies. That he's basically getting the Dave Filoni treatment because Kevin Feige was CCO and running the comics division about 6 years ago, 2019. 5 years ago, so he gets a mulligan for doing things like retconning Azazel and Mystique as the parents of Nightcrawler, right? Because now it's Mystique and Destiny, and this, that, and the other. But there's a lot. There was also that Daniel Rickman, whatever. He's like one of the popular scoopers or whatever. And about
that guy's just full of shit too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
he's
About
like
3 months
Cameron
ago, they were
Pasha.
talking about female-centric X-Men and them wanting to introduce X-Men that haven't been on the screen yet. And if you look at a lot of the rebooted X-Men stuff that's about to be coming out, there's some real cringy-ass characters that are like amalgamations of previously created characters.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't put it behind them to do it. Like Ryan said, they maybe are learning their lesson, but they also love to try to recreate the Iron Man phenomenon. Like, hey, let's do this D character and C character instead of actually using like our A-listers that we could be using.
Right.
Yeah, going into that Iron Man movie in 2008, my friends were like, "Yeah, we're going to go see the Iron Man movie." I was like, "Please don't make me go." And they made me go, and I was like, "Wow, Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man fun."
Oh yeah, that was a great weekend. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
it twice.
That movie was like something else because going in, I'd never really like heard much about Iron Man aside from like his appearance in the animated Avengers movies that they did back in the early 2000s, I believe.
Mhm.
And then I went to see it. I'm just like, man, this movie's insanely good. It's one of the most pleasant surprises I've ever had going to a movie theater, taking this character that I hardly know and making me a big fan of his.
Mhm.
It's one of the most comic accurate too, and obviously it was kind of modernized, but a lot of it plays out because I grew up on John Byrne Iron Man, and that is like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's why I hate Iron Man 3. I almost hate Iron Man 3 more than Captain Marvel because that whole bastardization and turning the Mandarin into a drunk. If you would have kept the first half of that movie and not done the suspension of disbelief, and
That was the
actually
fucked
had-
up part, was how they did Mandarin. Yeah.
Yeah, if they would have kept him that way, he could have been a major villain, and instead and then they clowned him again in Shang-Chi after Stan Lee died and made fun of his fucking name, and Stan Lee's the one who fucking created him and gave him the name. So
Well,
that
and I
was
feel like what
great.
exacerbates the Mandarin shitty twist is that like Killian was just a lame villain too. Like if you
Yeah.
would have had a great Mandarin villain after the twist, like, oh, he was clever, he used a decoy and stuff. Like
Is
that
that
could
the
have
name
worked.
of the guy who was the real Mandarin.
Yeah.
That-
am the Mandarin.
That whole twist was straight out of The Incredibles.
It was like Ben King, like you got Ben Kingsley or whatever. You're like, okay, what the fuck are they gonna do with this? And then they did that, and everyone's like, oh God, really?
Fly home, Billy. I work alone.
He was killing it too as an evil Mandarin. It would have been pretty badass.
But during that burn run, Justin, so many storylines, like so many like really intense and like dramatic storylines, they could have found a way to work in to like 10 fucking movies, and it would have been great every time.
Yeah, and you had James Rose in there
material to
too.
pull
You
from.
know, it wasn't. Yeah, they had lots of cool shit in that run for sure.
Oh,
The
yeah.
thing is, we gotta skip over all that source material to go straight to all new, all different Marvel.
Yeah,
which is where
let's
we're at.
introduce America Chavez before we introduce the Fantastic Four. That will work out.
That's kind of another problem with the Russos. They are fans of the original Secret Wars, but it's obviously clear as day we're doing the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars. So they'll probably add elements and Easter eggs from the original Secret Wars. But the cool thing about that, Marvel didn't ever reboot until late 90s. It was the Onslaught saga where they tried to reboot the X-Men or the Avengers in an X-Men run when Onslaught kills the Avengers. And then they found out the fans didn't like that shit. So then they made it Franklin Richards creating a pocket universe. But then later on, then they started the X-Men reboots and all that shit. And it was all downhill after that. But before that, unlike DC, Marvel had actually kept continuity for, up until I think it was 97 or 98.
Yeah, they didn't restart it a million times like DC already has.
Yeah.
Hey purist, remind me, when did the New 52 start?
2012.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it was before that, wasn't it?
2011.
Everyone I talk
Yeah.
to hates the New 52. They blame New 52 for they blame the New 52 for shows like Batwoman being on TV and getting
September 2011 was New 52. It hasn't been. As
I
long
was
as
about
people
30
think it
issues
was.
in, and I gave up because I didn't like the direction whatsoever. So,
And 5 years later, they did Rebirth or something.
Mhm.
Around 5 years later.
and wasn't there something after Rebirth? There was I thought there was another kind of like crisis type of event that happened as well around.
Crisis
Wasn't
of
it like
Infinite Earths.
What was
I
that?
think there has
Crisis
been
of
big
Infinite
events, but I
Earths.
don't think it's
Okay.
I don't think it's resetting the entire universe like
Right.
those other ones did.
Right.
didn't they merge like the timelines because Dr. Manhattan made up the whole New 52 or something?
Yeah, that was in fucking I forget what the name of that entire run was. That was
Doomsday
so
Clock,
late
I
that it
think.
fucked up all the plans they had in Rebirth.
Speaking of Dr. Manhattan, don't you just love his portrayal in the
Doomsday Clock?
Watchmen
Doomsday Clock.
TV show where he literally hands his balls to a woman?
I've never watched that shit, and I never fucking will.
I
But,
watched it because it was so highly praised by like certain outlets whenever it came out. They're like, "This is a true sequel. It's so amazing." I'm like, and then they have like some rednecks make a tachyon, which whenever anybody throws out tachyon, it's just going to be a BS sci-fi invention.
The Tachyon Fields.
Yeah, and it neutralizes Dr. Manhattan, which is like against the whole rules of their universe. Even a guy who doesn't know much about Watchmen.
Well, I'm old as fuck, so I'm old enough to remember when Crisis on Infinite Earths came out, and that was a great event that really cleaned stuff up. And then they didn't really stick with it too long. 7-8 years, and they started undoing some of that shit. But that was a really good story, and it had a purpose to clean up all these various continuities. And what DC was about 45 years in at that point, since 1937. So they had to start explaining Golden Age, Silver Age, all that stuff. I really enjoyed Crisis. There's
now they're doing the
big-ass
animated
poster you
movies
can
of
buy
that,
of
right?
like a recreation by Alex Ross as well of the cover. So
I did kind of want to bring it back because we had started talking about the Acolyte stuff. Sleazy, you had
know,
something to
so
say
many
about
tangents.
you had something to say about the Plagueis stuff.
Oh yeah, that stuff annoyed me so much because they pretty much undid the prequel movies, like in their entirety, right? Like, okay, Plagueis was a Sith. He made this stuff up. He had his apprentice. It's like, well, Plagueis actually stole the idea from these lesbian cultists over here that made two kids. It was the most annoying thing I've seen.
A girl did it better.
Yeah,
and he's
a man
relegated
couldn't do
to
it.
a cave dweller too.
Yeah, a man couldn't do it. He had to steal it from women.
Yeah, they turned him into a cave dweller. Whereas if you read the Plagueis novel, he's like a wealthy businessman who's like a Sith on the side.
Well, he's got 100 years or so to get there.
I do also think you could make the argument that he was just hiding in that cave watching what was going on rather than he lives there like Gollum. Like, I feel like that could be an argument.
That's
Nah,
what it
he's a shipper. He was watching.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I hope they kiss. Yes.
But they did. Leslie Headland confirmed that Plagueis is Chimere's master.
Oh God.
Yep,
Which-
you're right. She did confirm that.
This is the classic don't give him any wiggle room, because they did the same thing with Obi-Wan where they're like, when we last met, oh, he didn't say it was on Mustafar. It's the same thing with Palpatine's story now about Plagueis, where they're like, oh, he never said that Plagueis was his master. There could have been somebody in between.
Well, the thing is, they don't even care about their own continuity now, because there's that quote from what's his name that voiced Maul in Clone Wars. I always
Sam
forget his
Witwer.
name.
Sam Witwer.
He was in
Sam
Battlestar
Witwer,
Galactica.
where he talks about, he told Dave, like, they're making me do something for this recording that doesn't line up, and Dave told him, campfire. As long as it's, a Star Wars story or around another campfire, it doesn't have to line up. In fact, it's good that it doesn't, because you're exploring the character. Like, really, George was never that way.
I just said
That's
multiverse
bullshit.
at that point.
That's a lie from Dave Filoni.
Yeah, because we need to explore the three-dimensional characters of Osha and May.
Yep.
Two twins who act exactly the same despite being separated by 20 years.
I'm not as familiar with the Disney lore, but they trying to say now that Plague just created Anakin. Is that where they're going with this?
We don't know.
So stupid.
We don't.
In their comics, they say it's Darth Sidious that created him. Though they already have I'm pretty sure it's a
Force
Charles.
Awakens.
It's an
Soule
old
comic
screenshot
run.
too, Justin. It's from like 7 years ago, I think.
Yeah, because Charles.
I know the one
Soule,
you're
like,
talking about.
He elaborates on lots of shit. Like, so the bleeding of the lightsabers, that's an E.K. Johnston, like Ahsoka story. That's where the lore comes from. But Charles Soule had to, let's get like deep into this shit. And we're going to show Vader meditating with fucking blue butterflies, which actually are shown in that Acolyte show. And then they did the whole bleeding of the lightsaber, and they already broke their own lore when it comes to that too. So they can't keep any of their own shit straight.
They've been planning this thing where women can, create life together without a man for a long time, because it's actually a feminist thing.
Yeah.
They've been trying for years to find a way to, reproduce without men in real life. But there was a comment from one of those chicks that writes the Disney Star Wars reference books. I can't think of her name, but she said that Dathomiri witches can create life. And then someone asked how, and she said, it's magic. I can't think of her name. What is her name, Ryan? It's like three names.
I know the quote you're talking about, but I can't remember the author.
Yeah. I brought it up on stream about 3 weeks ago when that first hit about Acolyte. But yeah, they're all psychopaths. E.K. Johnston saying George was racist because TPM didn't have enough diversity. So her Queen books, she diversified that era up. They're all nuts. Like, there's no one normal writing. People have said, Kevin Scott, but if you look hard enough, he does all that batshit stuff too. So,
dude, I just remembered they retconned the whole Padme thing in the one. It was like Queen's Hand or something. Was a Disney Star Wars novel that came out where it was. I think it was about the. So it was Natalie Portman, and then there's the other famous actress that played her.
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley.
Yeah. So it was about Keira Knightley's character, I think, or one of those bodyguards of hers.
Savvy or something.
And yeah, they basically she's like the main character in it, and they basically retconned it into her and Padme had like a thing for each other, and she basically doesn't want Padme to get with Anakin, and she has all these inner monologues about he doesn't seem healthy for her. Oh, he's really it's like basically that he's the toxic relationship.
There was like a couple books that was like Queen's Shadow or
Yes.
Yes.
Hope or
Yeah.
something.
the same one with the period blood that sets off the alarm, remember?
Yeah,
That was
E.K.
E.K.
Johnston too.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's when Captain Panaka's wife puts him in his place, saying, "You should know that." It's
Yeah,
And those were the last ones that I actually read, so I'm not going off anything anybody said. Like this is
Yeah,
what
well, I
about.
get it. Like I gave Disney Star Wars books a chance because they had a bunch of EU authors, so they roped some people in, so I try to give it a chance. But yeah, then they basically use that to draw some of the old EU readers in, and then you started getting your Claudia Grays and E.K. Johnsons and and the sort.
There's a comic where they turn Darth Vader into a simp.
No, good.
I mean, Anakin kind of is,
Well, I mean, after he's in the suit and all of that, my God, you gotta love how when they got rid of the EU, they were talking about how this time we're gonna be consistent. We're not gonna constantly contradict ourselves. And then what happens? They write a book series talking about Poe Dameron's origins, how he's like a big pilot who's good friends with Leia. and then they retcon it in Rise of Skywalker to say, "Oh, he's just a spice smuggler." Really?
Well,
let's give all Captain Phasma all these cool things that she did back in her past, and then in Force Awakens, she's just going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to lower the shields for you because you got me at gunpoint, even though my armor can deflect blasters."
yeah, she was like in a Mad Max like post-apocalyptic story on her planet. It's like her whole origin, and they had the one like scarlet colored stormtrooper was like her mentor that she betrays and everything. Like you basically put all the story in the novel and then have her be this like cameo character in the actual movies.
And that retard Jacob is recommending those books, even though according to him he never actually read them.
There's a couple good ones about like the Tarkin novel. I thought was good.
The Tarkin novel was written before. I think it was written before the decision was made to get rid of the expanded universe.
Manuscript was, Ryan, for sure.
Yeah, not the whole thing, but like the plans for it. They made significant changes in the aftermath, but like
James
the
Luceno,
core of that book
the goat,
was written before they made those decisions. Now, in terms of him being fucking gay and not Plagueis, Sidious getting a first name or Palpatine getting a first name. I think a lot of those decisions were not there before. Sheev.
Yeah. Sheev. God.
But
Uncle
yeah, the
Sheev.
core of that book I think was outlined before any of that stuff happened.
And I think the Dark Lords of the Sith novel, which is like fairly soon after Revenge of the Sith, when Palpatine and Vader are on some mission together, they're shutting down Hera's dad's rebellion.
Yeah, they get crash land on Ryloth or whatever. Yeah, it's Paul Kemp, but because Paul Kemp did like Deceived and like Cross Current, he did some pretty good EU books.
The first four were like you had the Rebels, A New Dawn. Is that what that was called?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You had A New Dawn. You had Tarkin. You had Dark Lords of the Sith and something else.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, it might have been the Ahsoka novel. Yeah.
Yeah, with the white lightsabers versus whatever they're supposed to be that triggers Raging Rhino.
She purified those red lightsabers because she's so perfect.
I just remember once they got into High Republic, it was just like everybody's a lesbian. It was a weird pattern that I noticed, and this is before I was into all my alt-right, crazy channels.
Wait, John,
I was noticing
ship navigator.
Yeah, not all of them are lesbians. One's a rock.
Oh wow.
Someone wrote that. Someone came up with that.
I just remember when they started using they started talking in one of the audiobooks where they were like, Xi said to go to this system, but Jim didn't like it. I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? And then I discovered later it was like these weird pronouns they were using. I was
fucking modern day pronoun bullshit in Star Wars.
I'm
they did that in
driving.
Acolyte episode 5 with Basil, that little fucking badger thing. The Acolyte overall it was worse than I thought it would be, like legitimately. There's pretty much nothing redeemable about the series. There's nothing that you can give kind of, in isolation, this or that. I guess the only thing really is the guy who plays Soul, he's like really trying very hard.
Like he can emote, which is a bare minimum.
But act. He can't speak very well, but he's trying to act.
I love you.
I'm looking for some virgins.
I love virgins.
Imagine learning that you figured out how to speak English just for this role.
Oh God.
This must be so disheartening.
And it was false advertisement too, because it was a Sith story. This had absolutely nothing to do with the Sith. The Sith is not like the main focus of the story at all. It's a bunch of dumbass Jedi, some Force witches, and a little bit of Sith here and there sprinkled into it. It's not really a Sith story at all.
One of the most infuriating things was how it truly was framed as a good thing for Osha to turn to the dark side and do what she did. It's even like backed up by Leslie Headland. She talks about the positive corruption that we witnessed. That's how she phrases it. Positive corruption.
That's
Osha.
I screenshotted. She was trying to break the stereotype of like the protective father figure. That it was like this bad sexist trope that people like to promote. And it was in her interview where she hates that and she wanted to get rid of that because that's what Soul was doing and it made him evil, even though he wasn't. Because
what Soul was doing was inherently sexist or something, trying to protect Osha that way.
Yeah, and Soul,
it's fucking wild.
And Soul, when he has a chance to explain himself, just doesn't do it. It's like Joel all over again from Last of Us 2. Hey, Ellie, they were going to dissect your brain to make a cure without your permission. I'm just never going to bring it up. Hey, OSHA, the crazy bitch was turning into a smoke monster and disintegrating you. I tried to save your life.
Yeah.
He just never explains it.
What did he actually say to May when he had her tied on the table? Because he says at the end of the one episode, he's like, I'm going to tell you the truth. And then it shows the flashback for the entirety of the next episode. And then she's getting up in the last one. So it's just a weird bit of editing where you're like, did he tell her that she was disintegrating? Because I feel like she should know that, but maybe he needed to explain why he stabbed the mother to her. But you don't know what he explained because it doesn't show him talking to her about it at all.
Also, why did Torben commit suicide? I still don't know.
Because he was in that show.
Because of it. Did you see how he looked? I would have too.
I mean,
I don't know. I didn't watch the show.
Masculine, Torben or Mog?
Oh, they could have a
They
duel
have a
and it would just be the most
Hold on,
pathetic
hold on.
thing ever.
They have a character named
There are
Mog.
Jedi on this planet.
Like
There
none
is
of
a
them-
character.
If there was going to be somebody that killed themselves, I could see like Kelnaka, like after being taken over and like actually attacking his fellow Jedi and shit like that. I could see like him feeling weird enough or like he had failed or it wasn't honorable or whatever, because honor is a big thing in Wookiee society as well.
Yeah,
So-
don't they have a thing where like if you use your claws as weapons, you get exiled as a
You get
mad
banished,
claw?
yeah.
Oh, there you go. He scarred Torben with them. So
Yeah, it's from
Exactly.
Code
So
War.
like I could see that shit happening. For Torben, his entire story was retarded because
I want to go to Coruscant. I want to go home.
That
yeah,
was
like
his story,
him wanting
basically.
just to go back to Coruscant. What is he? It's not like Jedi have some big party life, you know. Like I don't know what he's thinking is going to be so exciting back on Coruscant, other than that's just where he grew up or whatever. They were only gone for 7 weeks. Somehow, no one told him that entire time what they were looking for. So I don't know what he thought he was looking for or what he was doing in those 7 weeks before they finally figured it out.
he
But
had
if it had just been something different, like he just wanted like a little bit more glory. He wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be out there in the galaxy doing these things. And that led him to making some mistakes. That would be like a far better and much more sensical plot as to why maybe someone would have done in something that the Jedi Council specifically ordered them not to. But this thing makes no sense. And there's no reason for
I
him
do
to
have to
kill
say,
himself.
I love the visual of like him in the Force bubble with May trying to kick him. It reminds me of the scene from Spaceballs when Lone Star is trying to like swing his Schwartz sword at Helmet, and Helmet's just like deflecting it with a like a shield, a random shield.
I would
So he
love
pulls
an
up his helmet and
extended.
goes,
They need an extended scene of that where OSHA or where May is just running through like a gazillion different things trying to get inside of this and just keeps like bouncing back and hitting her in the face and shit, or she just keeps face planting. She's like throwing grenades at it that bounce back.
like
Really
Mr.
face
Incredible
planted a
trying to
lot.
get his belt on.
I feel like Ocean May like tripped and fell down like 10 times. And
They knock themselves out.
Oh yeah,
all
it
the
was
time.
funny. I did like a slow motion replay on one of my reviews of her falling over a couple times, like into the. I think that was on the fight episode, the big fight. But I think their logic is right. Torben, or I called him Ray Validator because he likes to float in the air like Ray, so they got to use that to validate her character in the sequels. But he jumped on the speeder and left because he wanted to get to Coruscant, so he caused like all the destruction and all that shit that happens at the end of the day. You know, they had to follow him out and because of that, all the witches died, and you know, Kelnaka did what he did, yada yada yada. I think that's where they're going.
No,
with
because
it.
he didn't force the witches to do anything. It was their choice. To
But the
handle it how they
Jedi
figured.
had already said to drop it and not to go there and not to engage. They were supposed to just continue looking for their virgins and blah 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 blah. And then in
Yeah, 'cause
turn,
after all,
Master
they have the
Trinity
right to look
then had
for
to do a
virgins
cover up
as long as they
So-
have permission.
Yeah. Well, but Trinity did a cover up too, right? So then he probably feels guilty for that. I think from a writing perspective, that's probably how they look at it. You know,
I
It's still
guess.
it's
stupid.
not really his fault. Torben, poor Torben.
Yeah.
Fucking had to kill himself. Spirian with 199, a super sticker. Thank you, Spirian. DeBeast for 2. Aloha, gents. Got you up on my TV. You remain blessed. Well, there's somebody who wanted to see us in all our glory on a big screen television. I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but thank you.
He's Hawaiian.
He's Hawaiian.
That's
Eric
what's
John
wrong.
Pete's artist for 199. Fauci was the only correct choice for Doctor Doom.
It's so true.
Biggles. It's difficult because both have Favreau. You spelled Favreau wrong. What's difficult?
You spelled it
I
phonetically.
don't know how to. I don't know how to spell or know names. But when we were talking about the Scoopers were mixed up with the Civil War because they both have John Favreau in it, so they were confused as fuck.
Who's in
Like,
Deadpool Wolverine?
He's instigating a war on two fronts.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know
big
how those go
mistake.
out.
Big mistake, we've learned. C Black for 10. According to Jeff Snyder, Dr. Doom was always the plan. He was going to kill Kang before Major's problems. In terms of it was always a plan to bring Dr. Doom in, I 100% agree. Like they always had a plan to do that. But the Robert Downey Jr. aspect and the switching of Avengers 5, that is new. That is within the last year with these developments. They were not always planning to do that.
You can't show me the stadium full of Kangs at the end of whatever movie that was, where they're all
Ant-Man.
cheering each other. Yeah, and they're like saying that this is gonna start now after you've already teased the war, and then say that that was never part of the plan to expand beyond that.
That's what doesn't make any sense because there's not really enough time to develop Doctor Doom. I know everyone says, well, but Thanos didn't have all that. Well, Thanos is a more simple villain, especially when you include the Infinity Gems or Infinity Stones, as the MCU calls them. He's a little more simple to break down. Like Doctor Doom's different. And two, because if they were going to do the Kang Dynasty, it didn't give him a lot of leeway, like building his character up and whatnot. So I would have liked to see. I've been saying for like a long time because the MCU likes to be different when they introduce their characters. And what did the Fox universe do wrong with Doom? Right, they made him Electric Man, and then they did the shitty Josh Trank version. I would have done like Triumph and Torment, like that's a Roger Stern story from the '80s graphic novel, and it's Doom and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange becoming the Sorcerer Supreme because the Ancient One died, just like he was supposed to after the first movie instead of Wong. And then they go into the depths of hell to win Cynthia Von Doom's soul away from Mephisto and shit like that. That could have been carried on from the WandaVision shit. It would have introduced a actual sorcerer version of Doom, which was needed and hasn't been done correctly, and it would have just been more unique. But there's obviously no chance for them to do that now unless they do it in reverse order.
I think that you're going to see again. I think we're going to see him teased a little bit throughout Fantastic Four. I believe that is the plan. Not that it's going to be about him or anything. Obviously, Galactus is the main big bad, but I think he's going to be teased a little bit in Fantastic Four before we get to Avengers. But I don't think that's going to be enough time to really do too much development or anything for him.
I have a question. Did Loki's show get the Infinity Stones, or like are there a whole bunch of them now?
There was
Or are they
one
completely
scene
out?
in Loki season 1 where you saw somebody at the TVA pull out a drawer with a bunch of random Infinity Stones in there, kind of as a fucking gag, talking about how like the TVA is different. It sits outside of time and space. Things that might have power one universe don't have power there. But that was really the only thing that was addressed in the Loki series. Okay,
because they could always do the story if they still exist when Doom gets them all, and then he's like all powerful.
I mean, they do exist. Like they're out there. Like they could definitely be something they bring up again. I think it would be a mistake to bring back the Infinity Stones for this story, but
they're definitely going to bring Thanos back because they're going to use that for a particular panel in Secret Wars of between Doom and Thanos.
Oh, I think I know.
You know what's funny? It sounded like Biggles said the Wookiee series, and I was like, which one? Oh, the Infinity Stones. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you forgot the biggest Acolyte news to come out of this weekend, though, was those novels. The Jordan Jecki novel.
Prequel, the prequel novels. Who the fuck is going to buy that?
Fives and tens of people are going to
The
read
entire
that.
audience for the Acolyte is using their fucking parents' Disney Plus account as it is. Like they don't have fucking money, and they can't read probably either. So
if any of the Disney era novels like made the New York Times bestseller list, like those EU books are like bestsellers, but I haven't heard any of these.
A handful of them. The first
one
book did.
Yeah, I figured maybe the early ones did, but
They did a massive campaign. They did all kinds of animated stuff. They showed them at Skywalker Ranch and yada yada yada. But I did actually one of my first Star Wars live stream. I broke down like all the EU sales and the record and history of all the EU books post like Return of the Jedi, and then compared it to that one book. And that one book did I think it was 3 or 4 weeks in the top 15, which is their best one. And then I did a follow up on that like a few months later, and showed all the other High Republic book sales. And basically, I think they have a total of like 4 books that ever even made the top 15 on the New York Times bestsellers list. So
I guess you could say that's pretty impressive, given that no one knew who any of the fucking characters were in that book, or we knew nothing about the era. So
Even
the
the
fact that they at least got one book, it was probably curiosity plus, like, you know, stores initially bringing in stock and
ordering
stuff like
a shit
that.
ton of them, yes, because that counts.
Combined with the fact that the High Republic cover art looks like shit.
It's horrible. Yeah,
It's horrible.
You compare that to like the old school New Jedi Order artwork, which looks absolutely tremendous.
There's some bad covers in NJO, but for the most part, book covers just suck in general. Like the ones that they're doing for the re-release of the Legends books are fucking awful.
I don't know. Stop talking about Force Remnant, Ryan, on those covers.
Oh God!
Or what was the name of that Force Heretic trilogy?
Force Heretic, yeah.
I don't think any of the new covers have surpassed like any of the OG ones
none
at
of
all.
them.
There may be, I think there's one. I can't remember the one Fractured Filter had brought up, but it was like somewhat decent on par. I think it was the Force Unleashed or something like that.
Lords of the Sith artist is amazing. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he does good art. Let's let Ryan read this. He's tried like 8 times at this point.
I gotta talk about gay
Can you read my
Thanos.
message, please?
Sid Dave for 5. MCU should have a gay variant of Thanos who wants to wipe out all straight people from the Disney universe and replace it with LGBTQ.
MCU should have
Groomer Thanos.
He'd be the hero.
He kind of did groom someone's child who wasn't his. So, GraphWeb for 2. For fuck's sake, hashtag cancel Disney Plus.
Never owned it.
Thank you, GraphWeb. Raceland Magier, travel home every night. Travel time is a joke. Yeah, the travel time in the Acolyte was one of the most infuriating things to watch about it, because it does not matter. They're traveling to the outer rim in minutes. It's like, what fucking sense does this make?
They throw away all the travel time, and then they add all this other like completely useless filler, like even from the first episode where they're like, we arrest her, then instead of just having them immediately interact with her, they have to leave, let her escape, re-find her on the planet, and then have Soul meet her. It's like, why are you running back and forth? You could have just had the travel time like be a time for them to talk to her on the ship or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't need to see every time they travel them having like a conversation or them stating, well, we've been here 3 days. Like, I don't need that. But like, it doesn't need to be that on the fucking nose. But what you should be doing is, hey, they're going to fucking go somewhere. Then show something else that's happening and make it seem like a little time has passed between now and then. Don't put time limits on things like, hey, we just got to this planet. It's 3 hours until it's dark. Let's go fucking find this thing. Then have the Jedi leave from here, go meet them there after not getting a head start, and end up meeting in the same fucking place, traveling from Coruscant to that planet and catching up with them in less than 3 hours.
Well, that's what happened in A New Hope, right? You don't really have to show the passage of time, but you leave it to the viewer to, assume that, okay, this much time has passed in between. We don't know what happens when it flashes to the Death Star and it shows, all the generals and admirals having the meeting. You don't know, and you don't really need to know. You just need to know that some time has passed, however long it takes to travel from Tatooine to Alderaan.
Same with Empire, right? It's like,
yeah,
okay, I don't need them to lay out, hey, it's been 6 weeks that the Millennium Falcon's been using its backup hyperdrive to try to get to Bespin. You don't need that. That's not necessary for the movie. But you can tell there's a passage of time because the things that Luke is doing and what he's learning from Yoda while all of this is playing out.
Right.
Yeah, and in A New Hope, they played Dejarik, and you see that they're doing right. That's the game, right? The chess game, whatever it is, right? They're doing that, and then you also get the explanation from Han Solo that you can't just freaking like go into hyperspace. You have to actually plot out coordinates and use hyperspace.
Otherwise, bounce right through a star or supernova.
Yeah, just jump from the atmosphere like they did in Rogue One and in Mandalorian. Right?
They did it in Acolyte too.
Why didn't they do it in The Phantom Menace when they were escaping Naboo? I mean,
why didn't they just do the Star Trek Discovery teleportation thing? That man, Tim, that would have really helped out the Voyager crew if they had that trick.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's just like that episode of Game of Thrones when they're stuck on the frozen lake and Gendry runs all the way to the wall. Daenerys comes all the way from the south of Westeros with her dragon and flies up to the north, all in the span of about 1 day.
Yeah, like most like the running all the way back, have to get a raven to Dragonstone, and then now for a dragon, it doesn't really take that long for a dragon to make that fucking trip. But all the other things in the between there are like the biggest problems with that. All by the time the thing freezes back over, like what the fuck. Jackson Cagle for 4K in the RK. Hell yeah. Thank you. Pokey for 5. Disney gonna keep Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU till he's 90. Just like Hugh Jackman, apparently. We didn't talk about it too much. I don't want to get into spoilers for Deadpool Wolverine, but of you guys that did see it, how did you feel about it?
Meh.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for because my family wants to go, so
I'm
don't
count. Has anybody else seen it?
Yeah. So for me, it felt like they were writing a letter about Deadpool and Wolverine working together. It didn't feel like they had an actual story put together. Like there were some plots in it, but it didn't feel like a nice cohesive Deadpool Wolverine working together. It felt like it was just like, hey, this is what they would do if we wrote a story. Like it something felt off about it.
It was basically just Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds having fun together. No real thought or rhyme or reason was given to the story, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. Like I think I get it like 7 or 8. Yeah, I think it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't great.
It was legitimately exactly what I expected.
Exactly.
If you go into it felt like the other Deadpool movies I've watched, where a little bit light on like the story aspect. I'm not going to get a whole bunch of like, wow, I got a lot of good messaging out of that movie, and it really, tugged at my heartstrings. That's not really what I expected out of the movie, because that's not really what I got out of the first couple. A little bit here or there, a little bit to get you to care about this character or that character. For the most part, it's just an excuse for over-the-top gratuitous violence and a bunch of fucking jokes.
I didn't think the jokes were that great either. Like they seemed toned down for Deadpool.
There were certain ones that were way too dragged out and like took up too much runtime that I feel like even if I laughed at first at it, I was kind of like, all right, move on, please. But I mean, I kind of agree with you guys. Overall, I'd say it's like above average for the most. I really liked like the core characters like Deadpool and Wolverine and a couple of others that were in there where I liked them. I feel like they could have better allocated their time by maybe just cutting out a few of the really quick bits and cameos and focusing more on the more substantial ones, I suppose. Because there's some that are just thrown in there to be like cannon fodder kind of, and I feel like that was sort of a waste of time in the end, and a waste of humor a little bit.
We did get one appearance that was, I don't want to get in without spoiling it, but a character who plays an alternate version of Wolverine that people have been like asking for a long time, but it's also kind of a shot at another comic book company, which is funny.
We'll treat you better here than over there.
Yeah.
But I expected them to make fun of themselves a lot. I expected them to make fun of the MCU a lot, the multiverse shit, which they all did. And it was also the nostalgia you get for this. It's for shit that we watched when we were growing up that maybe we didn't realize quite how good we had it back in the 2000s era of comic book movies.
Yeah, Ben Affleck's Daredevil is looking really good now.
Yeah, well, don't tell Jennifer Garner that, but yes. Yeah, so overall, I liked it. I don't think anyone should go into it expecting that this is going to be anything different than what you saw in the first couple Deadpool movies in terms of, oh, just going to be a great, fantastic, fucking, really seamless story. It's not what the first two were. It's not what I would go in expecting this one to be either.
That's not really what people go to a Deadpool movie for. Like,
expect it to be as good as the second one.
That's
what I say.
I recently rewatched the first Deadpool movie, and if you really think about it, it is like half a very conventional love story and half a very conventional revenge story. But what really carries it is Ryan Reynolds in the role, all the jokes, all the gratuitous violence, like it, and it all comes together really well. And I miss days when comic book movies were an hour and 50 minutes as opposed to 2.5 hours, sometimes 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, especially for a Deadpool movie. Like certain movies, if it's like a sweeping epic like Infinity War or something where you have enough characters and everything to fill that time, sure. But yeah, Deadpool movie doesn't need to be over 2 hours. It's good where it was. Yeah.
And there's one Deadpool I wanted to see a lot of was like 30 seconds.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
I know what you mean.
Bring me back.
The first Deadpool's got a pretty tight script though, and it's actually like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. It's pretty comic accurate to like his retconned origin. So that's cool. But yeah, I think like Ryan said, it's kind of what I expected. Like Hugh and Ryan, like over excelling with what they were given. But I think the script is kind of weak. The immediate first time you see a TVA time portal, my daughter like rolled her fucking eyes and
yeah, that
heavy.
To me, that's the thing that holds the movie back the most,
Yeah,
is that it
weighs
is
it
set
down.
in the MCU.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I hate, like I said, I hate reboots. I hate Cassandra Nova's character. I was glad when in X-Men 97, Beau DeMille used Bastion as the antagonist when he did the E is for Extinction storyline in that. But I got to tell you, the actress that played Cassandra Nova, I mean, I was kind of impressed. I think she did a good job with the interpretation of the character the way that she was in the comics, even though I don't really like the character. And they did some interesting things with her character, although I would have liked to see like portrayals of the astral plane and stuff like that you got with X-Men 97 or like the Legion show back in the day.
Too overpowered though, I felt like.
Yeah, and I said
made
that
it really
before.
tough to make the plot work whenever it was like this all-powerful villain.
That's what I told my audience like months before. Like, she's way too OP of a villain to be like their enemy. It's kind of like if they do Lilith in Blade. Lilith is the reason they created the Midnight Suns. So to have her as the main villain in a Blade movie makes absolutely freaking no sense whatsoever.
Well, unfortunately, purists, they still can't figure out how to make a Blade movie. Like, how do you make a movie about a guy who kills vampires? I just don't get it.
Dude, if you guys never played the PS2 Blade 2 game, that was a really fun game. You had this whole like rage meter you could build up where that was the only time you could use the sword, was like once a level. And then you would just be like sending people across the room and chopping these guys in half. It had all this dismemberment and stuff. You had like solar bombs you could throw down and just nuke all the vampires on the whole screen.
Best vampire game all time, Blood Rain.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's Blade, but sexy.
Yes. Very.
I thought you were gonna say Twilight.
You know what? Unsubbed. I'm canceling all this.
Blade X. This ain't Shadowversity. He's not going to be promoting Twilight.
I like the Cinderella movie.
Actually, you know what? I am going to defend him on that. If you're for women, and if you're looking for a classic fairy tale,
if you're for women,
you
came to the wrong stream.
Yeah. It lets the stepmother be evil. It doesn't say like, oh, she's redeemable and shit. It lets I forget, Lily James, I think is the actress. It lets her be very feminine and hot. The prince is not evil. He's totally cool.
Isn't the prince played by Rob Stark?
Yeah. No, as far as just like a traditional tale where it doesn't have any of that BS, I think it was like 2015, so it got in right before that, before a certain syndrome kicked in, and they actually just kind of stuck to the story.
So are we kicking John?
Well, I haven't seen that Cinderella movie, so I don't know enough to kick him.
I think Lily James would be an awesome Dazzler because she can actually act and she can sing too. So I think she'd be a much better choice than Taylor Swift.
I like her. She was in that Beatles movie where they forgot all the Beatles songs, and then she was like the love interest in that. But yeah, she's always pretty good.
She was Yoko Ono?
I forget what it was called, but
Ajax Skyline for 5. You heard it here first. Robert Downey Jr. isn't the main Doom. They're hiding the real actor / Doom. He's just a Tony variant possessed by Doom. Disney is bait.
So are you saying that it's going to be like a Taskmaster twist where it was actually a woman?
Maybe.
Doomette.
Garfield's Bizarre Adventure for 5. Good news, everyone. My Hollywood spies have debunked the unsubstantiated rumors of Robert Downey Jr. returning the MCU as Dr. Doom.
Did he also walk up
news,
to
everyone.
Kathleen Kennedy's office and tell her, "We're taking this bitch over," while wearing MAGA hats?
Robert Downey
bird.
did storm in with a big MAGA flag and stuck it through Kathleen Kennedy's heart and took
Kathleen
over.
Kennedy was having a meeting with Kamala Harris, and Robert Downey Jr. barged in and says, "You fucked up Star Wars. Give Kevin Feige the MCU back. I'm coming back, baby."
He was wearing an actual Iron Man suit and blasted both.
He also says,
I'd pay to see that.
Oh, by the way, when you were there, Ryan, like, how was it when Real American hit? Like the moment it hit?
Talking about RNC?
Yeah. The song when Real American hit, because it was on a fucking commercial when we were watching, and
it was cool,
was already
and like
in
we
progress.
all assumed he was going to come out to that.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to go as hard as he did.
You didn't
Like
think he
I
was gonna rip the
expected some
shirt?
fucking shit. I expected some. Let me tell you something, brother. When I saw my president down there on the stage with blood on his hands and blood on his face, and he stood up defiantly, well, I knew that man with the 48-inch pythons, Donald J. Trump, was gonna like. I thought that would happen to some extent.
Thank God
I
you added
wasn't
an S to
expecting
Python.
A shirt tear, right? Like that's what I was not expecting, but he went all out. It was fucking awesome.
Hey, Tim,
Yeah.
do you remember that interview that Hulk Hogan cut at, I think it was WrestleMania 4, where he's talking about, if the city of New Jersey was going to flood, Trump would hold up his kids and his wife so they wouldn't drown.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the
Yeah,
most
that was an
bizarre
intense
promos.
one. The only thing I was disappointed in that he didn't say, "Hey, I dropped a leg drop on Kamala like in 1987, and we're going to do it again in 2024." That would have been great.
The Ugandan giant. I mean, the resemblance between the two Kamalas is quite striking.
Yeah.
Uncanny
The
Valley.
cackle.
Is anyone else getting flooded with that cackling Kamala ads? Because that is like the only
Yes.
ad I get on fucking YouTube now. It's driving me
Yes.
nuts.
I have
Oh, yeah,
YouTube
bad
Premium,
blockers.
so I just don't see ads ever.
I need to upgrade.
Same
I guess.
for me. Same for me. So I never know what ads are running on my videos till people tell me, "Hey, do you know Disney just ran an ad before you're calling Disney pedos?" I didn't know that, but thanks Disney for the money. I'll take it.
I made a parody where I was trying to act like a shill and react to, I think it was the Acolyte teaser trailer, and somebody came into the comments like, "Why are you promoting this?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not promoting it. Like, I clearly labeled this as parody in the title and the description." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I think it's just
Too many
because I
spurs
called
out
you
there."
out that you are saying that." Now I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you, dude. I pretty much labeled this everywhere and spoiled the joke."
Dude, okay, so my Asian waifu occasionally reads the comments, even though I tell her not to.
I love how you
And-
pointed that
and
out.
Her only thing is like, why are people so mean? You just said you didn't like something. It's like, sweetie, you got to
You
understand.
have no idea.
Because I'm a
Mummies
racist,
aren't
honey.
people.
I don't know how you haven't caught on to this
People.
being a different race yourself.
I just hate women.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what's the thing you should never ask a
Slapper.
right winger the race of his girlfriend?
Yeah, no shit, right?
God.
All right, but let me make sure. I think we're all caught up there. We've been going about 90 minutes, boys, which is usually where we start saying goodbye. There's been so much shit that has happened the fucking past month in the world, but also obviously in entertainment. We got a good Marvel conversation, which I don't know how long it's been since we've had one of those, which is great. But the cool thing about this stream is you get to hear other people besides myself, some of whom have channels, some who don't. But for those that do, or Twitters or whatever, I would hope that you guys go follow them and show them the same support that you guys show me. So we'll start saying goodbye to all the good people on here in the same order they came on. Gabriel Knight, you got anything to plug, man?
Not really. I mean, Tim's going to plug it, but I'll go ahead and say it too. Join the United Spacers Alliance if you haven't already. Great channel. And just want to say to all the Trump people out there who are panicking right now about Kamala Harris, shut the fuck up. He's not losing to her.
Well, I don't think that people should take it as lightly as we should take it because it's a joke. But certainly there's a little wave right now of bullshit coming out.
Yeah, it's a pole bump. Big
Keep
deal.
up the fight. Keep up the fight.
Yeah,
though.
exactly. Don't get complacent, but anybody panicking, just chill out. Jesus.
Yeah. Star Wars Marvel purists, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm gonna have. We started before Acolyte because we kind of preempted it. I had Raging Rhino on for a new show that I had created, Pure Unadulterated Star Wars. We did a deep dive into the Plagueis book. We thought we'd finish it in 2 episodes. It ended up that we're gonna need 3, so we finished 2 of them before the show. Now that the show's done, we're gonna cap that off on Thursday night. For a nice palate cleanse. So yeah, you guys can join me there. It'll be Thursday, probably like around 11 at night, but you can catch the replay or whatever because I'm dealing with an Australian, in a totally different time zone. So, but yeah, we have a lot of fun doing that. I just had Grizzy and Fractured Filter on doing KOTOR right before the anniversary. I kind of been trying to release stuff before the Disney version of it comes out or anniversaries to show people like the awesomeness of the original version. So, But yeah, please subscribe. I'm like I already have like a bunch of watch hours from my faithful followers, and I'm like 10 subs away from partial monetization. So, and then it's the road to 1,000 after that. So,
well, let's get you that to 500, right? That's where you need to be.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get you to 500. There's more than 10 people watching, so can we get him 10 subscribers? 10 subscribers to get that threshold.
9 now.
There you go. We can do it. Sir Reefer, what do you got going on, man?
Nothing. If you want to follow me, you can on Twitter. You're only going to see takes from the shitter. That's all it is. Twitter from the shitter.
X from the shitter now.
No. It's Twitter from the shitter.
Twitter.
I'm with the old people on this one. X is
I still call it Twitter too. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and just remember, don't pirate from indies.
Well, we'll pirate from everything else though.
Yep.
Sleazy, what do you got going on, man?
I am at 850 subs. I am working on a video game. It's getting closer and closer to completion because I'm going to use my channel to promote the hell out of things that matter, like making video games and movies. The movie is still in the works, so I'm getting people together to start filming that soon. And I'm hoping that by the time I hit 1,000 subs, I can release trailers for everything. And if you want to make a liar out of me, make me reach 1,000 subs quicker.
Yeah.
And then I do videos Monday through Friday and Friday nights. If you're a YouTube member, we do. Trying to think of how to avoid this and not get in trouble. We do watch parties of things like the new Deadpool movie.
Hey, some people. That's how a lot of people watched it to begin with. Maybe even while driving home because I had to get on FNT and didn't have time. So never know who might watch things that way, Sleazy.
Yeah.
Grandmaster Chris, what do you got going on, man?
I've got nothing. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter. My username is I go by Lore Master Chris because I want to keep the lore alive for all the best franchises. If you want to follow me to watch me make fun of Disney Star Wars fans, as well as make posts about how much better pro wrestling was when we had bra and panties matches, then go ahead and give me a follow. Aside from that, I've got nothing.
There you go. Biggles, I know you're not feeling great today, but I appreciate you being here, man. You're muted.
He's not feeling good.
I've been muted while I'm doing. All right, so I have a channel. I did my first video in a month, and I mentioned the last time we were on this that I was working on a video. Well, I finally finished it because I didn't know I was going to have family here for 2 weeks, so I wasn't able to record anything because children yell really, really fucking loud. Yes, so go ahead and click the button of the link I just went, and it should help you get me to 500. There you go. I need like 150 or something, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. Sub to Biggles. He does good work. John Getz, thanks for joining us again, man. What do you got going on?
I just have my usual gaming channel. It's just my name, all one word, and then gaming, John Getz Gaming. And it's basically, I've been off it a little bit because I got sucked into some of those PlayStation Plus games. But for the most part, I try to go on kind of off the beaten path stuff. So I'll probably be playing some classic Star Wars games to sort of cleanse my palate of the Acolyte after recent events. And by the way, Biggles, you can totally do stuff with kids streaming in the background. Everybody who's ever played with me online, there's usually some guy who has that going on. So it's totally cool.
Yeah, but editing it out sucks. They yell all the time when I'm streaming, but not when recording videos is different.
Well, there you go. Thanks for being here, man. And last but not least, Crusader Tim from United Spacers Alliance. Where can people find you?
Yeah, at that channel on YouTube, and Biggles is always out there spamming the chat with our links, which we appreciate. You know, I make videos every now and then. Not as much as I used to, because haven't really found that algorithm. So you put a lot of effort into one and then it doesn't really take off. So I make videos every now and then, and you know, I'll get some views on it if it's about Dave Filoni or whatever else. But we stream every Friday night, going back to Wednesday streams. We're really going to start hitting the political channel in the next couple of weeks with the election coming up. And that's grounds of expediency, but we are going to go ahead and multi-stream even on United Spacers Alliance. We talk about retro stuff. We talk about what's going on in pop culture and how other people are reacting to it. We talk about the ridiculousness of Disney shills, stuff like that. We have a lot of fun, have a lot of drinks. So yeah, give it a follow. There's something for everyone. And I'll say that. And again, 4 years in as a top tier member, and you're still doing this, Ryan. Pretty amazing. Thanks for doing it.
Hey, my pleasure. It's always good. I'm glad that I was able to get back in time. I didn't have to push it because that messes things up, but made it back from all the, I would say vacation, but it wasn't a vacation. I was just fucking working in different places. But yeah, good to be back from the trip and hang out with you guys. I will be live on my channel at 5:30 Eastern. So I got to eat and then make thumbnails and get the stream ready to go and all that stuff. So I'll see a lot of you guys there, I'm sure. And then House of the Dragon review after that tonight with Gary and Mahler on the Nerdrotic channel. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting all these cool people here on the panel. I'm really blessed that they support me. And with that being said, we'll catch you next month for this stream, which will be August 25th. As of right now, August 25th, the last Sunday in August. So 4 weeks from now. And I'll see all you guys in the chat and all you people here on the stream. And we'll talk to you next time. Peace.
So long, gay boys.